Welcome to the Rotary Club of Beaumont. If you will stand, we're going to go ahead and get started. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Those on Zoom, please mute your microphones. If you have your phone with you, take a minute to check into the Facebook page. Our invocation today is going to be led by Barry Bryant, Sales and Marketing Manager, Bill Clark Pest Control Incorporated. Our pledges will be led by Michael Wolf, partner at Wolf Bunt and Associates. We'll start with Barry.
All right, would you pray with me? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today with just so many blessings. We're so thankful for all that you do for us. We're thankful for this great club and all that it does for our community. We just pray that you continue to bless us and bless those that serve, bless those that make a difference in our community. And we just pray for those who are hurting right now, Father God. We especially pray for the Brown family that mourn the loss of loved ones. We just pray that you lay your healing hands of peace upon them, Father God. And we just pray that you continue to bless us, bless our bodies so we can better serve. Bless this food for the most nourishment of our bodies and thus to thy services. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Afternoon. Please join me in the pledges to our great nation's flag and to our Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to these Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
We have a few guests with us today. When I announce your name, if you don't mind standing. Donna Brown, guest of Bill Clark. Casey Clark, guest of Bill Clark. And Gary Brown, guest of Bill Clark. We have Mandy Raps, guest of Melly Bevilacqua. I was going to say it right, too. Melly Bevilacqua. Ann Jones, guest of Christy Young. Mark Asteris, who is a guest of me today. And Steve Shoemaker, guest of Stephanie Shoemaker. Thank you for all joining us. Next, Josh Smith, General Manager of Bill Clark Pest Control Incorporated, will bring our memorial resolution.
Good afternoon. Before I present the resolution, I just wanted to take a moment and express my gratitude for the great honor I have today to present this in Mr. Brown's honor. Also, I had the privilege to work with Mr. Brown for about 13 years with the company, and then a few more years after his retirement through some consulting roles. And one of the things I think Mr. Brown would expect today or want would be for everybody to leave here or at some point during the day to have a smile on on your face or a good laugh. And so kind of as I was going over this, that Ms. Cynthia Wolf does such a good job of putting together, it's a little intimidating to speak in somebody else's words and be able to present those in a way that would make that person proud. So I had two things that I thought of that would make me successful today, and I realized that neither one of those things happened. So the first was I was hoping Vernon Pierce would be here so he could help me with any of the pronunciation of the words. The second one was I was hoping Cynthia would attend via Zoom so that Jackie could mute her if she tried to come get me off the stage. So neither one of those happened, but we'll do the best we can. Madam President, members of the Rotary Club of Beaumont, and all in attendance here today, the Brown family, the family of my treasured friend, colleague, fellow Bugspurt, and fellow Rotarian. I'm honored to read and offer this proposed resolution of memorial tribute to James F. Buzz Brown and to the minutes of the Rotary Club of Beaumont. James F. Buzz Brown was born January 29th, 1935 in Little Rock, Arkansas, as the youngest of 4 children to loving parents Alma Dyson Brown and James Fenner Brown. As life sometimes happened, Buzz's father passed away when Buzz was very young. In time, his mother married Roy Murray. By the time Buzz was old enough to go to school, the family had moved to Louisiana, and moving from state to state was very common in the life of Buzz Brown, eventually moving to Beaumont, Texas, which was not until 40 years later. After 13 years in Beaumont with Jack's Tire Service, Buzz became part of the Bill Clark family, serving for 25 years. In 1992, James F. Buzz Brown was proposed for membership in the Rotary Club of Beaumont by his boss, Rotarian Bill Clark. Buzz's Rotary classification was Pest Exterminating Service, and his focus was community. Paul Harris Fellow, Buzz was an active member of the Rotary Club of Beaumont even after his 2014 retirement from Bill Clark Pest Control. Because of Buzz's positive attitude, his sense of humor, and his ease in talking and getting others to talk, it can be said that he never met a stranger and that he was no stranger to anyone. Because of that, he touched many lives, especially the lives of fellow Rotarians who miss his warm greeting and firm handshake at every meeting, and the way that he reached out with telephone calls or emails to any Rotarian who were absent from Rotary meetings. Buzz applied his focus on community to include the individual members of his Rotary community. James F. Buzz Brown, a caring person who was also a dedicated Rotarian for 28 years, passed away on January 22nd of 2020, 8 days shy of his 85th birthday. Prior to coming to Beaumont on January 1st, 1975, this was the life of James F. Buzz Brown. During the 1950s, Buzz attended Cotton Valley High School in Cotton Valley, Louisiana, and was such a good baseball player in high school that he got an offer right out of high school to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. Unfortunately, as per Von Brown, he went to training camp where he was prepared to try out for the position of catcher, but he blew out his arm, ending his baseball career. Buzz then moved to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. It was there that Buzz met and eventually married Donna Harris. They married February 14th, 1958, and a month later, Buzz was drafted into the U.S. Army. He and Donna moved to Fort Gordon, Georgia, where in 1960, their first son, Vaughn, was born. After 2 years at Fort Gordon, the Brown family moved back to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where Buzz went to work at Goodyear Tire. With each promotion that Buzz was given, the Brown family moved. In 1965, while living in Greenwood, Mississippi, Buzz and Donna welcomed second son, Gary, and there were more promotions with Goodyear Tires and more moves to Midland, Texas, then Findlay, Ohio, then El Dorado, Arkansas. But in El Dorado, Buzz left Goodyear Tire and went to work at Babcock's Auto Tire Company as general manager. According to Gary, at a tire convention in 1974, Dad met business owner Jack Baxter of Beaumont, Texas. The conversation turned into a spontaneous interview with Jack Baxter ultimately asking Dad to come run his business, Jack's Tire Service in Beaumont. Dad was ready to take that next step in his career, but there had to be the right offer. The negotiations went well, and in fact, Dad couldn't refuse it, and that's how we got to Beaumont. What follows is the Beaumont part of Buzz Brown's life. On January 1st, 1975, the Brown family moved to Beaumont, where Buzz served as general manager of Jack's Tire Service for 13 years. In 1988, Buzz joined Bill Clark Pest Control as service manager, which evolved to sales manager and then to marketing manager. During some 25 years that Buzz was part of the Bill Clark family, he was lucky enough to enjoy working in the same business with his sons, Vaughn and Gary. An active member of the Rotary Club of Beaumont from 1992 to 2020, Buzz was also active in his church and within his profession. Buzz was a part of the administration board of Trinity United Methodist Church, the day school board of Trinity United Methodist Church. He was a member of the Harvester Sunday School class of Trinity United Methodist Church. He was membership and participation for years in the Southeast Texas Pest Control Association including serving as the secretary. After his retirement from Bill Clark Pest Control in 2014, Buzz pursued his favorite pastimes, enjoying family get-togethers such as birthdays of the grandkids, golfing with his buddies, and cheering on all the sports of his beloved Arkansas Razorbacks, and attending weekly Rotary Club meetings. But as per Donna, in that his clients had his cell phone number, it didn't matter that Buzz was retired. And I will add that as well, any of his previous coworkers that had that number. Everyone called him. Buzz talked to them, found out what they needed, and then referred them to the appropriate person at Bill Clark Pest Control. Gary added, some who called were business owners who just wanted Dad's advice. Dad welcomed those calls and appreciated being trusted by the relationships that he had developed with him over the years. James F. Buzz Brown was preceded in death by his father, James Fenner Brown, by his loving mother, Alma Dyson Brown Murray, and by his stepfather, Roy Murray. He was also preceded in death by his sister, Mickey Brown Grisham, and her husband, David, sister Bobby Brown Cruz, her husband, Dorsey Cruz, and her sons, Dorsey Jr. Fenner, and Van, and brother Walker Cleveland, W.C. Brown, and his wife, Doris Crow Brown. At the time of his death, Buzz was survived by his son, Von Brown. But Von passed away April 12, 2021. Buzz is survived by Donna Harris Brown, his wife of 61 years, their son, Gary Brown, and Gary's wife, Becky Brown, grandchildren, Colleen Brown and Garrett, great-granddaughter, Layla Brown, and nieces, Carol Grisham and Nancy Grisham Bronson. Buzz is not only missed by his beloved, loving, and adoring family of 4 generations, but he's also missed by his church family, his work family, and especially by his Rotary family. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Rotary Club of Beaumont express sorrow at the death of James F. Buzz Brown, a man whose warm smile, cheerful disposition, and caring nature were constant, whether at work, church, or Rotary. James F. Buzz Brown touched many lives in remarkably positive ways during his almost 85-year legacy. Be it further resolved, this resolution is spread across the minutes of this Rotary Club and that copies be furnished to his family and to the Terrell Historical Library. Madam President, I move that we accept this memorial resolution and that the members indicate their approval by a silent standing vote.
Thank you, Josh. I'm going to plant that smile today. Jay Wilson, Secretary, is going to share some board action from the board meeting yesterday. He'll be followed by Brad Brown, President-elect, who's going to introduce a new member.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Board met yesterday for our monthly meeting. We heard several reports about projects that we have underway and that will continue through June. You'll hear more from the chairs of those, so I'm going to move on and tell you about our membership action yesterday, which is quite a bit. We approved a new member proposal, Jacques Gagne, buyer at Coburn Supply Company, who was proposed by Jennifer Gregory. Jacques' classification will be business service, building supplies. We approved 3 classification changes. Shelley Vitanza, from Director of Public Affairs, Lamar University, the classification of University Public Affairs, to Manager of Community and Government Affairs, BASF Total Petrochemicals, LLC, classification, Chemical Industry Public Relations. Virtue Alexander changed from Beauty Consultant, Mary Kay Cosmetics, to Grant Writing Manager, Communities in Schools, classification, Association, Communities in Schools. And the last classification change is Denise Berry from Sales from Acadiana Waste Service, classification, Business Service, Commercial Waste Disposal, to Owner of Trinity Waste, Business Service, Waste Disposal. 1 member was terminated, Carrie Moncla, and reluctantly and with regret, we accepted the resignation of Gary Moncla. To complete Gary's term of service on the Board of Directors, the board approved the nomination of Diane Bass. Diane has been serving this year as Vice President, will serve in the new capacity through 2023. Lastly, On our continuing effort to transition back to all in-person meetings, the board discussed that we will continue not wearing the Rotary name badges for a little while longer. We will continue to practice the served buffet, but we will increase the number of people to 6 per table. So there'll be plenty of seating each week. So tell all your friends to come back to the meetings. Thank you, Madam President.
Next is Brad Brown with our newest member.
Good afternoon, Rotarians here in Zoom land. Pleasure to see you all. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Paul Freitag. And you may know Paul as a trust manager with Hancock Whitney. Paul moved to Beaumont with his wife, Sharon. They moved in 2019. Paul moved to this area to be closer to his daughter who lives in Lake Charles. His daughter lived in Lake Charles at about the time Imelda happened. And Paul moved down here in spite of all the weather events he's seen. He's gotten used to the idea, but the humidity, can we do something? Paul hails from South Bend, Indiana. It was there that he met his wife, and we welcome him here to Rotary. Of interest to Paul to join us in our projects, because Paul would be the hands-on Rotarian member that we all want. And you may know a few of those in your community of relations. Why don't you invite them to join us and Paul in Rotary? We need to expand our membership and our influence in our community with Rotarians like Paul Freitag. Paul, would you come down?
Welcome, Paul. And since you mentioned humidity, I'm going to throw in a pitch for the $15 blue shirts back there at the back. I wore mine last night when we did our service project, and they're a lot cooler than the bright one that that's great for winter and it's great for flags. But that other one was a lot cooler when we were working in that warehouse. But we're so glad to have you, Paul. We'll put you to work. Next, we have Kevin Reed, agent, Remax Reed Realty Group. He is going to share our progress on the Let's Build a Nest campaign.
Thank you. Microphone's working today. So the NEST program, for those that don't know, it stands for Navigating Excellence, Success, and Triumph, and it is set Innovative Learning Lab. A lot of language to spit out one time. So our goal was 15,000, and right now our progress is at 5,700, which is roughly 30% of our goal. So see, does she have it up? Okay, so she has our levels and a little bit of the information there on the screen on what it's about. And I was told to mention that if you go to the link on the website, you will be able to hit that little button and take you into a little bit more information on what the NEST program is about. And for those that are going to be sponsoring at whatever level you're going to sponsor at, there is going to be some recognition and some things that you can partake in along the way. So every week we'll try to give you some sort of update on our progress. And if you have opportunity to sponsor or know that those that want to sponsor, we just need to hit that 15,000 goal. And that way we're done with it. And let's see, anything else? I think I got everything. Well, that's all I get to say. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll hopefully get to work on that maybe this summer. More to come. Next, with our disaster relief service projects, board member Sherry Pierce is going to come up and give us an update on where we are. She is Director of Neighborhood Ministries, Wesley United Methodist Church.
Hey y'all, If you missed yesterday, which a lot of you did because there was just a handful of us there working at the Market to Hope. It's it's like a grocery store that Catholic Charities operates, that they give the stuff away. It was amazing just to see that operation, the work we did, anybody can do. And if you're looking for an opportunity to volunteer somewhere, I would like to say that you ought to check them out. That's a good place. They still need volunteers for that. Our next opportunity was June the 3rd or 4th, whatever it was, at some other place, but we are full. So if you still want an opportunity to serve somewhere, the next week, June the 7th and 8th, 10th and 11th, we are going to do a project with Nutrition and Services for Seniors, the Meals on Wheels. And I don't think I explained this very clearly last week. I got excited about it, and I think I left some stuff out. At 9:30, Jancy is going to do a tour of the Nutrition and Services on Concord. You can find the address in there. Call me and I'll give it to you. She's going to do a tour of their operation, which is an amazing operation. They are like a machine turning out, I forget how many thousands of meals every day. But then you can ride along with or follow along with a driver that's going on a route and see just, the people that we deliver to. It's an amazing thing to get to do that. Sometimes it's bringing them a meal, but it's also checking on them. You can ride with those people, or you can follow along in your car. And if you are done after 2 meals deliveries and you feel like you have to get back to work, go back to work. But if you want to wait till about 10:30, I know of 2 routes personally that start about 10:30, and it takes about an hour. So it may be a little more than an hour because they'll be explaining to you what they've done, but you could follow along with these people. I can give you that information. You can follow along with those people, and like I said, cut out after 2 visits if you want to, or stay with them the whole route, either way. But go online and sign up so we know how many, because we'll be making the assignments the week before sometime. Any questions? Y'all go sign up for Meals on Wheels. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. There's plenty of opportunity for that to fit your schedule. So if you only have an hour to give, then they can, Sherry can definitely make that work for you. Now, Rotary Goes to School, Lynn Hill, chair, is going to come. She's not on Zoom. She's live in person. She's going to come tell us about this year's Rotary Goes to School.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. It's so great to see everyone's face and touch a body. Talk about being out of the box. This is fantastic. So we're getting ready to go to school at the end of the year. And we are getting ready for our book giveaway. And just like anytime when you're a student or a parent, you get your children ready to go to school, there's always prep work to do. So the book giveaway will be the day before the last day of school, June 9th, but we have to prepare the books in order for the giveaway. The books are in, and what we need to do, each student was given a list of books to choose from, and they will get 10 books apiece. So what we're doing, we're doing one class. It's the 4th grade class at Martin Elementary. We have followed these same students since they were in 1st grade. So we have to get their books ready for them to take home. And this project has been to assist with children to try to stop some of that summer slide, because children do regress over the summer. I taught school for 20 years, some teachers in here. So sometimes when they come back, if they haven't had meaningful academic activities going on in the summer, they do tend to forget and regress. So we need to get the books ready. So what we have to do is we have to label the books. Jackie, our Wonder Woman, has already gotten the labels ready for each student. The books will be stacked. All that we need to do is come in, and we're going to put the labels inside the books. We'll have one student, you'll have a student, and you'll put all of those books together for that student, and then they'll be bagged off to the side so that we can get them ready to take to the school. We did it last year. We'll have a room, not sure what room yet. I'll let you know. And last year it took maybe about an hour. It wasn't that long. And of course, we're Rotarians, so we always made it fun and we had a good time. So we're going to do that next Thursday, June the 3rd at 4 o'clock. and it will be done here at the Elegante. And all that we'll do is get the labels in the books so that they can prepare to be issued to the students at Martin Elementary. So I hope to see a lot of you here. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Lynn. That's always such a fun project, too. All right, now to introduce our speaker, Gigi Mazzola, Executive Director, Cardiovascular Foundation of Southeast Texas.
Good afternoon, friends. Today, I get the honor of introducing someone that's very special to me, my father, Dr. Sotolongo. My dad did his training at Georgetown University, where he was a chief resident in medicine. He is board certified in internal medicine, cardiovascular diseases, interventional cardiology, and critical care medicine. He has been on the faculty of Georgetown University, University of Miami, and UTMB here in Galveston. He has served as principal investigator of numerous clinical research studies and has been locally practicing here since 1982, just a few years. I often get asked, when's your dad going to retire? When's your dad going to retire? And I usually just tell them, I'm really not sure because, to be honest, after his family, practicing medicine is really what brings a lot of meaning and purpose to his life. And those are his words that he's always said to us, his family. So it's an honor to get to introduce him, Dr. Sotolongo.
First of all, I would like to thank you for allowing me to share with you some of the advancements in cardiovascular medicine. I am honored to be able to present to you today to an organization that has done so much good globally for over 100 years. It is a true honor to be here with you today. What I thought I would do is discuss with you the advancements that have occurred in the last 5 to 10 years in cardiovascular medicine, which are truly astonishing. But the most important thing that I would like to share with you is not just the developments that have occurred in cardiovascular medicine, but the fact that all of these things that you're going to see here today are being done very well here in Beaumont, Texas. The first and perhaps most important development has been the ability for us to change cardiac valves, replace cardiac valves with a minimally invasive technique. In the past, we used to have to open the chest, have a cardiovascular surgeon arrest the heart, open the aorta, remove the valve, sew in a new valve, take 3 hours to perform it, be in the hospital 5 to 7 days. It was a major procedure. Now we have what we call TAVR. Oops. Huh. Okay, someone said that it might not work. So next, please. They forewarned me. Okay. So TAVR stands for transcatheter aortic valve replacement. And what we do now is all of our techniques are done through a catheter. Just to give you an idea, okay, I've done over 50 or 55 of these procedures. My average length of stay was 2.5 days. Now, in the last few patients, it's down to under 1 day, and the patients are awake at 2 hours. Most of the time, I place hidden sutures underneath the groin, so there's not even an incision made, and the patients are fully back to activity in 3 days. Next, please. So the natural history of aortic stenosis, which is the condition that causes the need for the valve to be replaced, is such that if left untreated, these patients only live a few years. Now they can come in to the hospital, have a minimally invasive procedure, go home in 2 days,
with a risk of stroke of 2%, a risk of mortality under 1%, and be fully ambulatory and walking home the next day. Next, please. Now, as you see here, this is a schematic of the heart, which has been sliced open. And the heart has 4 valves, 2 inflow valves and 2 outflow valves. The aortic valve is the valve that we have been talking about. And I'll try to, my little pointer kind of decided to die. Oh, no, wait a minute. Now it worked. Okay. All right. So you see, I don't know if you can see my little pointer. I'm on the ceiling. Somehow I'll get back to, here we go. Right in here is the aortic valve. And this is a depiction which shows on the top here, the valve typically is degenerated, calcified, and scarred. That's the underlying problem with the valves. Valves in cardiovascular medicine in the heart malfunction by one of 2 mechanisms. They either leak when they shouldn't or are obstructed to flow. So either obstruction or leakage. And you see there where the valve is heavily calcified and the normal valve is thin and has 3 little leaflets. We typically come in with a catheter and a delivery system and place the valve very precisely on top of the other valve and use very high pressure balloon to embed it within the calcification of the existing valve. We do careful measurements by CT to define the type of valve, the size of valve that's necessary. And we have various ways that we can get in to deliver these valves. We sometimes deliver them from the groin through an artery. We deliver them sometimes opening a small incision in the chest directly from the tip of the heart, go through the left ventricle. We can go from a subclavian artery. We can go from an axillary artery. We can go from a carotid artery, but they're all minimally incisions, small incisions. And the benefits, of course, is that the patients have much lower risk, much lower mortality, and are home in a day and a half. Another procedure which has revolutionized medicine, cardiovascular medicine, is PVAR. PVAR stands for percutaneous endovascular aneurysm repair. This is something I love to do. They're fun. They're pretty easy. Actually, they're not as easy. They're not quite as easy as transcatheter aortic valve replacements, okay? We do a lot of things that are much more complicated and difficult. Transcatheter aortic valve replacement is generally a simple, straightforward procedure. Aneurysm repair is another major development that we have been able to have in cardiovascular medicine. And I've already explained to you that it stands for percutaneous endovascular aneurysm repair. And you see there the bulge in the aorta right here. And the biggest risk and problem with aneurysms is that they rupture and cause instant sudden death. Traditionally, again, the surgeons used to have to, under general anesthesia, open the abdomen, move over all of the organs to access the aorta, clamp the aorta, resect the aneurysm, and sew and interpose a graft in the aneurysm part. Well, now we come in with transcatheter valves with stented grafts on balloons and close it endovascular. The last 2 that I did a 5'6" woman that was 82 years old with conscious sedation. She was awake by the time we wheeled her out of the room and talked to her family, and she went home in 12 hours after an aneurysm repair. And you see the aneurysms. We measure a lot of sophisticated measurements of the size, the neck, and the angulation, and various technical aspects of it. Another area that we have made great progress is patients that have blockages in the carotid arteries, okay? The carotid arteries are the main arteries that feed oxygen to the middle and front parts of the brain. Plaque or hardening of the arteries. You know, doctors, we have to have big old words for things that we fundamentally don't understand, like atherosclerosis. Imagine saying to a patient, you have atherosclerosis, you know, athero hardening, sclerosis hardening, atherovessel. So all it means is just plaque, and plaque is very complex. It has cholesterol, it has oxidized lipids, it has fibrous tissues, inflammatory cells. All of this builds up in here in these carotids, and they're a big source of stroke. And some patients, for a number of reasons, let's see. So now it's saying yes, it wants to work. Next, please. Okay. Sometimes patients have what we call a hostile neck, okay, that the surgeon cannot go in and make an incision. They've either had radiation, surgery, scar from a previous operation, a high bifurcation of the carotid, the blockage real high up, difficult to access. So if they have a hostile neck, or if they have a hostile carotid, then there are candidates for us to come in with a little stent, and we put a little filter above it so we don't embolize anything to the brain, and deploy the small stent against the plaque and open the vessel. As you will see here, these are some angiograms showing. Now you see here the blockage on the left side of your screen. And this is after we have put a carotid stent. Not everyone is a candidate. Currently, Medicare restricts this procedure only to patients that have either a hostile neck or are high risk for a vascular open procedure. Another area where we have made great strides is in trying to save patients that have cardiogenic shock, that go into shock. If you lose more than 40% of your heart muscle, your body goes into shock, okay? And the mortality is upwards of 90%, okay? We now have a very small little balloon device called an impella. An impella, so it works when it wants to. There it is. So an impella, you see here, has a little pigtail catheter inside the left ventricle and a little motor, okay? And we can generate 3 liters of flow and unload the heart while we're working and fixing the coronary artery that we're stenting and stopping the heart attack. We also have a larger impella that we put in by a cut down and provides 5 liters of flow. So we talked a little bit about cardiogenic shock. Okay. Stroke. Now, stroke is one of the most devastating illnesses in all of cardiovascular medicine. There's not a sadder thing in all of medicine than a stroke. And we have had major developments in attacking stroke. The two things, and you all are aware, when there's a plaque either from the carotid to the brain, or a blockage, or a clot from the heart, are the most common 3 causes of a stroke, where a certain part of the brain doesn't get blood flow and you're paralyzed. Let's see if there's a way that I'd aim this a little bit. That's just a warning stroke. Definition of a stroke. Oh. This thing is, I promise you I'm not changing. Okay, so 15 to 20% 1 out of every 5 strokes is from a condition called atrial fibrillation, okay? And I'm going to give you my 30-second explanation of what atrial fibrillation is. You may see it in ads on television. You may have friends and folks, okay, that are on, quote, blood thinners. And by the way, I'll share with you, there is no such thing as a blood thinner because we don't change the viscosity of the blood. We have anticoagulants and we have antiplatelet agents. But having said that, 20%, 1 out of every 5 is from a stroke, from atrial fibrillation. What happens is a lot of people don't think of this like this, okay? The human heart is run totally on an electrical system, completely. There's a little clock that excites itself electrically and sends the impulses from the receiving chambers to the pumping chambers. There's a little delay station, and there are human specialized electrical fibers that send the impulses to the pumping chamber, so your heart will beat in a nice synchronous manner, receiving chamber, pumping chamber, receiving chamber, pumping chamber, receiving chamber, pumping chamber, at 60, 70, or 80 times per minute. What happens in atrial fibrillation is all of the heart tissue can excite itself and cause rhythm problems and racing of the heart. What happens in atrial fib is the 4 pulmonary veins that enter the left atrium, right around them, starts exciting themselves 400 to 600 times per minute, not allowing a good firm contraction, and the blood kind of pools there. And it causes this, what you're seeing here. This is an appendage. In the receiving chambers, both receiving chambers of the heart have little appendages, for lack of a better word, okay? And you see here on the right, you see that thing with the arrow? That's a clot sitting in the left atrial appendage. Why? Because there's stasis of blood. The blood is not flowing rapidly. It's just pooling. And one time a little piece of clot goes to the brain and causes a clot. And this is totally preventable. So what we now do is we have 2 things. My partner, Dr. Pat Bransford, he's an electrician of the heart. It's really funny. We both trained at Georgetown University by the same professor that directed the cath lab. And at that time, he was an invasive cardiologist and an electrophysiologist. And he called me one day and he said, Rudy, I have a young guy here who's a great young man, and he's an electrician of the heart. His father's a heart doctor in Houston. He come in your way. Anyway, to make a long story short, we've been together over 23 years. He has done more AFib ablations than anyone in this region. He just finished training in the Watchman occlusion device, which will be started here shortly at Baptist Hospital initially. The Watchman is where you put a little occluder and you go through the septum between the 2 receiving chambers, and as an outpatient, just deploy this little occlusion device and prevent clots from having the ability to dislodge themselves and cause stroke, and you don't need anticoagulants. This is reserved for patients that cannot take anticoagulants. Also, there's a treatment which he does, which is atrial fibrillation ablation, where you go in and you map these pulmonary veins by 3D mapping. It's very sophisticated, and you ablate with radio frequency around these pulmonary veins, and with a very high success rate. 30% of people may have to have a second AFib ablation performed, but AFib ablation markedly improves symptoms, reduces strokes, and is a very effective way of dealing with prevention of stroke. Another area that in the last 10 years we've made dramatic improvements is in a condition, it's called deep venous work, and I love deep venous work. At first, I thought I was too busy doing too many things, and I kind of was a little reluctant to get into it, but when I got into it, I even wrote a recent paper on it. It's called deep venous work, where patients that either have clots, okay, in the deep veins in the pelvis, or people that have a congenital hereditary thing that where it's a condition that's acquired, where typically the left vein of the left leg, the left vein is compressed by the right iliac artery against the 5th vertebral body, because the arteries have high pressure and they compress the veins, and you get a lot of swelling and edema, and you can get ulcers, and you can get clots. And I've now done about 15 or 20 of these. You see there a little picture where that little round circle that you see there is the IVUS, intravascular ultrasound. We put in an intravascular ultrasound and precisely find the web and the compression of the vein. It's the only way really to diagnose it properly. Let me see here if I can show you. I had a slide. Okay, this is from one of my nurse practitioners. She was on birth control pills, took a long trip by car, and called me one evening and said, look at my leg, and it's throbbing and it's painful. I said, you have a deep venous thrombosis of the iliofemoral. Go get Eliquis. Now we can start you on anticoagulants without even hospitalizing you, by the way. Start this drug right now. I'm going to study you tomorrow. And then the next day, I performed that procedure. The IVUS diagnosed her, used powerful clot dissolving drugs, deployed a stent, and in 48 hours, she had no swelling. And after 3 months, she stopped her baby aspirin and Plavix, and she's doing great. She's asymptomatic. This is so common and not recognized by many people. She has already herself diagnosed 10 to 12 cases of May-Thurner acquired syndrome with the swelling and so forth. She's learned so much about the condition. Let's see if this will change here. That was just, so this I saved, kind of hope I'm on time and I haven't run too much over my allotted time. I want to be very conscientious. This is my last little bit of presentation. This is my latest passion that I have now, which is peripheral arterial disease. And there's kind of a reason that goes along with it, okay? I've done hundreds and hundreds. In fact, I published at one point the largest heart attack intervention study in cardiogenic shock and non-cardiogenic shock in a non-university hospital, and I presented them at Texas Heart in the 80s. So I've had a lot of experience stopping heart attacks. And when you stop a heart attack and somebody is dying, they really care for you. Doc, you saved my life. You saved my life. Gee, doc, you know, thank you. And they appreciate it, okay? And it feels good, okay? But when you have a patient that's on the schedule for an amputation with a big old diabetic ulcer in a foot, and they get a second opinion from you, and you save their leg, afterwards they come in running in the hall in your office and hug you. It's really, truly an incredible feeling. And PAD is extremely common peripheral arterial disease, okay? Which is blockages. It's the same disease, whether it's in your carotids, in your coronary arteries, or in your legs. And the problem with PAD, peripheral arterial disease, you can see here the mortality. The mortality is every bit as bad, if not worse, than having cancer if you leave it alone and not address it. So you have to be very aware of it. Has an enormous impact on wound healing if you don't address So here's just a brief point that there's a big group of us in the United States that are working really, really hard against this, okay? In the most advanced medical care in the world here in the United States, half of the patients that undergo an amputation do not have a full vascular evaluation, do not have a vascular consult, do not have an arteriogram to see, even though in sophisticated centers with excellent intervention, we can prevent 90% of amputations. And if we can't prevent them, at a minimum, we'll minimize them. Someone will lose a toe or some toes or have a foot, part of their foot, but they'll still be able to walk, okay? And just a couple of little slides. This is a gentleman that's a patient of mine, just to show you, that had a lot of discomfort when he would walk. We now have Roto-Rooter devices that break the plaque up, dissolve the plaque, aspirate the plaque out of the body, and prepare the vessel. We also have balloons, and balloons are not just plain old balloons. They're balloons that are coated with medications to prevent blockages from coming back. Now we have them in all lengths and all sizes. This is an image of an artery that's blocked in the thigh. It should be coming down where you see my line here. That's completely blocked. And you see another picture of it blocked. And that's after we finish opening it with Roto-Rooter, plaque removal, a drug-coated balloon. And this is the final result of the artery all the way going down to the leg. So I've shared with you some of the major developments that we have had in cardiovascular medicine. Now, the future, is going to be very, very bright. I assure you. We have genomics, proteomics, hundreds of and thousands actually of proteins that we still are characterizing their functions in the human body. Molecular biology has exploded. That is why you're seeing cancer patients be able to be treated, with immune therapy and not bad chemotherapy. We have stem cell research, which is intensely being carried out, minimally invasive surgery, and last but certainly not least, diagnostic AI is getting into the field. And with those remarks, I would like to thank you once again for having me. And if there's any time, I'll be happy to answer a question or two. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sotolongo, for sharing that with us today. I was thinking the whole time he was talking, he has such a gift for explaining these complicated technical terms, medical procedures, in a way that just an ordinary person could understand it. And then he confirmed it at the end by saying the Roto-Rooter. I mean, I was like, that's the way it works. But what a gift. Thank you for sharing your gift with us today. It seems like he had just went into a profession where he fits so perfectly, and your enthusiasm for it and your continued trying to figure out how to make it better. And I saw my sister-in-law had one of those, the same thing that happened to the young person in your office. And so now I know it's much better explained to me by you than I ever got figuring out, over the phone. So anyway, I appreciate you. And I'm so glad that Gigi got to introduce you today. That just made today even more special. And I'm also excited that we have this in Beaumont. And you're home in like a day. Wow. It just gets better and better all the time. So thank you. In your honor, we will be making a donation to Rotary International. One of our avenues of service is disease prevention and treatment. So we're going to make it in that focus area for you. So thank you again for spending your time with us today. In closing, flags are pretty well covered. Thank you for signing up for that. That's going to be on Monday with Memorial Day. Then on next Thursday, we have the people that already signed up for some other place for that 9 to 12 spot in the morning. That afternoon at 4 o'clock, come join Lynn Hill up here to put the labels on the books and get them in the bag. So we'll be ready to deliver them the following Wednesday to the school. Please consider making a donation to the NEST project. That's going to be so helpful to those kids at Martin Elementary as they try to recover from this year of COVID, and hopefully it'll help them catch up a little bit faster. I'm excited to get that going. Our speaker next Wednesday is going to be Miss French with the Backers Against Child Abuse. So hopefully you'll be here to join us for that. In closing, I want to thank the Brown and Bill Clark families for being here with us today. And letting us remember Buzz. He was a very important part of our Rotary family, and we certainly miss him. Welcome to our new member, Paul Freitag. Y'all did not know you were getting a little bit of Vernon Pierce when you got me up here. He asked for it. He said he wanted Vernon up here, so I had to help. So make sure you meet him before you leave today, and we're welcome to the Rotary family, Paul. Thank you all for attending. Let's stand and recite the four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Go out, find opportunities to lead and serve. Thank you again for attending today. Thanks, Cindy.